Hello, everyone, and happy afternoon. It's Friday, so it's that time where we are going live. Welcome to the Heat Press for Profit podcast. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen and join in on our conversations. If you're watching with us live on Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn, make sure you shout out who you are and, of course, where you're watching from and your business name. Now, this podcast is designed to have conversations with apparel decorators just like you and industry experts that can have an impact on your business. I am very excited to say that today we have Cassie Green, the content director for Apparelist. Cassie, thank you so much for taking time out of your Friday. Give us just a little bit of background about who you are, what you do for the Apparelist, and just your experience in the industry.
Sure. Well, first off, thanks for having me. It's really exciting. I was explaining to Kelly before we jumped on that I love listening to this podcast. When I have a minute to join live, it's always fun to hear what everybody has to say. Helps me get good insight. So thanks again. So I have been in the industry, and it's so crazy to say, almost 12 years. First job out of college, I got a journalism degree. Got out of college, jumped right into the B2B world. Started with apparel decorating. I was with a previous publication in the industry. And then, had kind of started in the apparel side, moved over more into helping on the engraving side. I was the editor for A&E magazine for a very long time. And then I joined Printing United Alliance in 2021, back into the apparel world, and seriously, so much fun. I just love this community so much, and getting to create content within this realm and talk with decorators I could not be happier and more excited about what community I'm part of. So yeah, but feels weird saying almost 12 years. I feel very old saying that.
I'm the same. When I think back to really when I first got into apparel and decoration and sportswear, I'm like, it feels like it was yesterday, but I look back and I'm like, it was not. That was 14 years ago, if not longer. So it's just funny to kind of look at it, from a timeline perspective.
Yeah.
But it's really cool to hear the variety of experience that you have. And I think that years ago, right, when you would have multiple roles with different companies, it would kind of look at as job hopping or, going from company to company. But at the end of the day, to be where you are now and the experience and the knowledge, you wouldn't have all of that without everything that you have kind of been able to touch and go through, right? And I think that's just so important in our industry to remember that you can always take steps to move forward and build more knowledge. So it's pretty cool. I'm really excited for this conversation because I think content is king right now, and the right content is the best way to build connection, build trust. And we are so big on building a community. And I think that's one thing that people really utilize content, for anymore. So let's dive. We're going to get started. And for those of you that are tuning in live, do not forget that you can pop any questions in the comments, and whether it's for myself or Cassie, but this is also the time for us to kind of interact with you guys and answer any questions about creating content and building, kind of awareness around the content. So I just want to preface that just before we get started. So content, right? There's so much that you can do. And with the giant pot that it is, sometimes it can be really difficult to kind of narrow down what to do first. It is the analysis paralysis. So much, what do you choose? So, what would you recommend for somebody that's like, you know what, I really want to get out there. I want to educate. I want to help people understand what I do or what my brand represents. How do they get started? How do they figure it out?
Yeah. I think you said it right. 2 points that you kind of said is you have to identify first why, right? Why are you wanting to create content? Is there this really cool, process that you're really excited about? And obviously through the lens of the decorated apparel community is kind of different than being Instagram influencer that travels the world and like leverages their resources to get people to pay for them to go places, right? Like think
Absolutely.
about the why, right? And is there something cool you want to do, or do you have a brand? Like I think of all the cool little apparel brands that we touch in our industry and that so many people print for.
Yeah.
What is it about your brand that brings something unique or fills a space in your community? So like I'm just going to use Apparelist as an example because obviously self-serving, but
Perfect.
right, but also because we are pretty new and Apparelist, just launched last January, so we're not quite 2 years old. So like when I think through the lens of the Apparelist, what was the need we needed to fill in the content community within the decorated apparel space? There was a need to teach people not just how to screen print, but how to better run their business. I mean, it's one thing to be a creative mind and to have these beautiful designs and then you execute it on a screen press and it looks amazing and it's awesome. And then all of a sudden you have employees and you have to go through the hiring process, you have to pay people, all this stuff. So there was a need in the community to learn how to run a business, right? And so think about that. If you're one of those people, you've identified a need, you're like, I'm super passionate about doing this specific process. Maybe it's water-based printing, or in the case of like, cells, maybe it's, doing
Yeah.
really cool, like multimedia transfers and things like that. Um, Find your why, because all of the stuff will fall in place. But if you don't have a why or a passion or something to say, your content's going to reflect that. I mean, Kelly, you're in the content space. You probably know, like, if you just come across like, no, this is okay, I'm just doing this because everybody else is doing it, I feel like people are going to see right through that.
Right.
So
Yeah,
that's my 2
totally.
cents.
I mean, the
Curious part.
biggest thing, like, it doesn't, I think the other thing is like, it doesn't have to be massive, right?
Right.
Your idea, your reach,
Mhm.
the content you're creating doesn't have to be something that has been overly thought and
Right.
overly thought. If you have really broken down who you are as a brand, what you are doing, what your goal is, your value,
Mhm.
all of that, that's the perfect guide for you to really take, okay, this is what we do. This is what I can show in terms of what we do. And I know we've had conversations, not you and I, but we have in general on this podcast have had conversations that and Jenna, same thing. She really hits home on this on some education, that social media is not to sell, it's to be
Yeah.
social, it is to connect. So the
Yes.
biggest thing that you can do is find a way to show people what you do, how you do it, why you do it, and then it turns around and just naturally brings orders to you in a very organic way.
Yeah.
And
So mhm.
what sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, so true. I mean, I could not have said it better myself.
It's one of those things that people look for realness in the world. When social media first started running, it kind of had this transition to, oh, well, now people are fake or they've created this. Is it real? Is it not real? Is it true what they're showing? But in our community, I feel like people really reach for truth and
Mhm.
realness and authenticity. And I think one thing that is important to remember is to stay true to who you are in your business and not try to be who somebody else wants you to be or who you think your community wants you to be. Because at the end of the day, it's going to show through at some point that that's really not who you are. So when you're creating content and awareness, that awareness comes back to relating yourself to other decorators.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think, like you said, start small. You don't need a huge video production studio, like full blown couple that grand sunk into all of this equipment. Like, start small and figure out where your content niche is, where your voice lies, where your strengths lie. Because while I do think you eventually, if you're going to continue to thrive in the content space and you're going to continue to put out good content, you do absolutely have to work up to that.
Sure.
I think don't start there because it's very easy to get overwhelmed and to just like stop,
Yeah.
so if you start with something small, like maybe you're blogging your day-to-day process of whatever it is. Like, oh my gosh, I run this crazy project once a month. It's really wild. I'm just going to blog about it because I know other people are doing the same thing. Maybe they have thoughts, or maybe they can share with me. Like you said, let's network, right? And maybe you're just writing it out, and now it's starting to grow. You have people connecting with you who are like, hey, I read your blog post. What about this? Or I really related with this. And then you sort of start to grow that organically. Like,
Mhm.
don't overwhelm yourself out of the gate.
How do you feel about decorators, their website, their brand website? This is what we do, this is what we offer, customer success stories, type of processes, how to get in contact. And then there's this blog space of who we are and what we've worked on for the month.
Mhm.
How do you feel about really kind of exposing, maybe exposing is not a bad, like, I feel like that could be a bad word, but really opening the concept to letting people see inside of the business on who you work with and what you do.
I think you should. I mean, it's one thing to have a website. Everybody has a website. Now, obviously not everybody has a good website, but
Yeah.
I think that the good websites that are bringing in the customers, are making people fill out an order, are making people call you, even walk in your door, are the ones that offer the whole package. So your website is well designed. It has a very easy to navigate homepage. It has the very easy to find different tabs for where they can find different things, the very easy contact us. But I think one of the most important things, and this goes back to our conversation about authenticity, is I think you should, to some degree, do open up your shop. Let people see the inside scoop. Some of our best performing content is, of course, like a technical article or something like that, but like a case study. Like, people just love
Mm,
to see what other shops are up to because it sparks so many ideas. And maybe you don't use that exact idea to execute something at your shop, but you're like, "Oh, I could take a piece of that. Like, look what this shop did. I'm
yeah.
gonna take that piece and implement it in mine." So by opening up your shop and letting people even just see pictures or like a quick video clip or whatever, including that on your website in an easy to find page, I think it only serves to benefit shops. I mean, and again, it doesn't have to be a super high production Hollywood video. Maybe you just took a picture of your team. Like,
For
you have
sure.
a team dinner or a team lunch. You take a picture, you upload it on your site, and you're like, meet the team at such and such printing. These guys are the ones who are filling your orders. It's super simple to start that way, and it just lets people actually know that there is a human
Yeah. Oh,
working there, and that's like a simple content strategy, right? That is like at the very basic, that is a really great content strategy for your site.
that's a community. I feel like between humanizing your brand and community, those are probably 2 words that I overuse,
Yes.
in daily, weekly, monthly conversations, but they're so, so important. People
Mhm,
want to see who is doing it.
mhm,
So let's take that blog, right? If you have a blog or a tab, a section on your webpage that allows people to really dive deeper into the people of the brand, the people that
mhm,
are in that creation, that order fulfillment. That's a perfect segue to get into email content or email marketing, to
yeah,
where it's like, hey, we really want you to know who fulfilled your orders last week. Or one thing I was just thinking about is concept creation to tangible. So
mhm,
here's how it started, here's how it was made, and here's how it was finished and what it was finished for. And that right there is the perfect way of selling, because somebody could go, oh, wait, I have this concept, but they can actually help me bring it through the creation process all the
mhm.
way through the tangible moment of opening it from the box. And it's a very powerful message that they're naturally doing without sitting down and strategizing on how to get it done.
Exactly. It's so funny you mentioned Jenna because obviously a lot of people know Jenna, recognize her. I've sat in on several conferences where she spoke, including last weekend. And actually we were talking a little bit about that concept, this idea of, and it's a little bit different than or a little bigger than what you're talking about, but like that drip automation emailing sort of
Yeah.
thing. And so like you're creating a connection with your customers. They actually see somebody is quote unquote babysitting your order from start to finish. Kind of seeing that. And it's actually really super simple to do. Apparel decorators are busy people, right? Like
Yep.
a gazillion hats, especially if you're the shop owner, or you're a production manager, whatever, you wear a gazillion hats. Don't don't start thinking about like this high level, I need to hire somebody to do these emails and manage this and blah blah blah. You can start super simple and just set up automated programs that will send those emails for you. You do have to go in and personalize them, you do have to build them, but that builds that authenticity, because if you're the one writing the email, you're putting your voice in it and you're like, here, this one's scheduled to send when the order hits this process, this one's scheduled to send when the order hits this process, and it's at this point, whatever. It's the super simple way to, again, just reassure your customers, connect with them on a personal level, but again, also set it up as an automation process that you're
Right.
not spending a ton of time on. And it's a very simple way to build a relationship.
For
So,
sure. That's, I mean, building out those emails, yeah, they might bring a little bit of anxiety to those that are solo, right? Maybe they're solo owners, and they're the
mhm.
ones that are the picking, packing, production, marketing, HR, accounting, like go through
Yep.
the whole list of roles that an owner can take on. But if you can just set aside an hour, 2 hours, and
Mhm.
if it terrifies you to do that weekly, then go bi-weekly,
Yep.
go monthly, to where you set one day and you just get it done, but
Yep.
then you've prepped yourself for the remainder of the following month or next.
Mhm.
And I know that's easier said than done. I'm guilty at that, but
Uh-huh.
at the same time, if you can just strategize for yourself on your plan, the content, I feel like, will naturally flow into that. So
Absolutely.
we've talked about Jenna a couple times, and it's one that I think she is she's so highly involved in partnerships and building connections with
Mhm.
outside uh, brands of group stall. And for like yourself, you said that you've had many conversations with her. Leveraging partnerships and content creation, just really bringing that community is so key. And it could be a business that where you're just asking for customer feedback. Tell us about
Mhm.
your experience. um, even people in your business, those can be your partnerships. The
Mhm.
people at the presses, the people in graphic design, utilize the people around you.
Yeah, I think about God, it's like you're taking all the words out of my mouth.
I'm sorry.
No, 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 it's great because you're absolutely right. I think that partnerships is so big. It could be defined as so many different things, and it can be so easy to just think, how do I partner with like the obvious choices, like someone who could write for me, or someone who could promote my business, like put an ad on their site for my business or whatever. But the truth of the matter is partners can be found everywhere, and they can do just a little bit of everything for you. And I think you make a good point with the internal stuff, because you never know who's got a cool idea, who's working in your
Yeah.
shop. But I also like to think of partnerships as like people who can bring the strengths that you might not necessarily have. So let's say we're down the line in your content journey and you want to start doing YouTube and videos because you're like, I want to show people how to do this with my press, with my transfer, whatever. But you hate being on video, but you know that there's a need for that in your community. Talk to your employees. Is somebody there that is comfortable being on video and walking through the process, being recorded, whatever? That's like a really cool way to look at partnerships. It doesn't just have to be someone who's going to connect you with 30,000 followers. It could just be somebody who is comfortable on video or comfortable writing.
Yep.
Maybe you're not a great writer and you just need somebody to help you write an email or write whatever. Leverage the people inside. But that's just like one piece of it. I feel like you could really and then blow it up
Go.
into your big collaboration. So obviously we've collaborated with Stalls on plenty of things because we recognize that we connect with all sorts of different audiences. People who read Apparelist may not, know that Stalls TV exists, although I would find that hard to believe. Or people who watch Stalls TV may not realize Apparelist exists. So how is it that again, it all goes back to what is the need you're filling in your community?
Yeah,
And that partnership can really help that need. It can further not only your voice, but just like connect you with people that didn't know they needed your services.
absolutely. There's just so much, right? It doesn't take many. Sometimes it can just take one.
Yeah.
And I think in the world of today, we get a little confused by many having more and more or needing more and more. And sometimes that one person can just be enough or really push it forward, right? Like that's if you're struggling with trying to figure out some content, find somebody to collaborate with that's
Mhm.
doing the same thing that you are, and then utilize each other as that connection on just staying accountable. Hey, did you do that blog post? Did you go do it? Because
Yep.
you know if you are solo and you don't have a partner or you don't have
Mhm.
employees or you don't have other VPs to collaborate with in your business, find that
Right.
person that is ready to run with you and support you and not be a competitor, to be that community that we preach so much about.
And like anything that's worth having, it's going to be hard work. I mean, that's
Very.
just the truth of the matter. If you want good content and you want to make the good connections, you are going to have to put in the work. You are going to have to seek out the partnerships. You are going to have to find those people who can help you. I mean, even if I read a lot of articles and I talk to a lot of people about like joining chambers of commerce and like your local like rec center or whatever to help push your brand out there. Like those are also great content opportunities as well, because think about, okay, so you're an apparel decorator, you've joined the local chamber of commerce. That's a great social content right there. Be like, hey, I'm going to the meeting tonight. I would love to meet some of you. Like, I would
Yeah.
love to connect with the community. But it is going to require some work if you want to do it right. You want to do it good. Partners help you with that. Like, they can help be the places you can't, or they can find the people that you can't necessarily find. But you have to be willing to kind of put yourself out there. Content is a lot
Yeah.
about putting yourself out there too.
It's like dating the world.
Can I please use that going forward? Like,
Yes.
hey, if you want to have a good content strategy, be willing to date the world.
But that's kind of what it feels like, right? It's
Yeah.
it's the questions, it's the conversation, it's building not necessarily rapport, but just getting out there. It's like
Yeah.
dating. Content is dating the world. Oh
Yeah,
my
go out
god.
there and speed date. Find which partner is going to work best for you.
The speed dating in the apparel decoration world is to find a community partner to help you stay accountable on creating content.
Oh
There we
my
go.
gosh. I love it.
We
See
just
there's your tip for the day, everybody. Like,
I know. That's all you need. We're done. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you later. No, I'm just kidding.
oh,
So what are some tools and resources or um apps? I'm an avid app lover and
sure.
I'm sorry, but they get me through life. And if I didn't have several apps, especially just like a timer that I use on my phone to keep me staying on task, I'd probably be staring at a wall and counting
Yeah.
holes in the ceiling. But what are some easy tools to get started with that somebody may not know about that they could put on their iPad or their tablet or their phone, even their computer?
Yeah, so there's a lot of and I was really starting to try and think about this. There's a lot of directions you could go here. So let's start with social media because that's where a lot of people sort of land. They're like, "Oh, I'll just get out on Instagram or out on Facebook or whatever." Um, so the biggest one I like to recommend for people who aren't super familiar with it, want to get started, is something like Hootsuite. And there's a lot of different social media platform managers out there. So if you're not familiar with Hootsuite, Hootsuite is something where you can link all of your social platforms. You can link up like your Facebook, your Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, or whatever Twitter's going by these days, or Threads is the new one, TikTok, whatever. Okay, so you're out on all these platforms and you're like, I do not have time to sit down and write my Instagram post and post it. And now later I have to do my Facebook, and now later I have to do my LinkedIn, and blah, 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 and on and on. And again, that's where the overwhelming comes in. That's where the
Yeah.
instant burnout comes in. So you use a tool like Hootsuite, and there are plenty out there. And you, like we were saying earlier, you take one day, you sit down and you plug in everything. You just knock it all out, schedule it to post, and you don't even have to think about it again. Obviously, again, there's some thought process that has to go in. You're probably not interacting with people on Instagram the way you are on LinkedIn. That's fine. That's a whole other topic for like another conversation. But Hootsuite is a great one. So I highly recommend that one, or something similar to that one that can help you schedule those posts. That way you're not daily having to sit down and add that to your daily task list. So like if you're going into social, definitely start there. If we're going to talk about other tools and resources beyond that, so say you're wanting to start a blog, and likely a lot of you, are already using some sort of platform for your website. We use WordPress. I love WordPress. As I was like coming into my adulthood through college, as like a little teeny bopper journalist major, we were sort of in the advent of WordPress, and so I've had the pleasure of watching it really come into itself, and it's super easy to use. It's very simple at its most basic form. You will be able to plug in a blog, write out everything you're thinking about, and click publish. How much time you spend on that to make it look good is up to you, but you can get a pretty clean looking blog with WordPress at its bare bones. And then as your content strategy grows and you start to explore different layouts, and you want to do this with your site, and you want to add all of these cool little plugins, there are tons of plugins you can use. We utilize a plugin called Beaver Builder to do like some really cool stuff. So you can make like images fade in and out. You can make things roll in. You can put cool backgrounds on everything. So as you get more comfortable, there are lots of really cool options there. So like those are like the two big ones I really recommend if you're starting at your most basic content strategy. I mean, I really feel like we could go down a rabbit hole here, Kelly, because like if you're going to start talking about like
Our
video
conversation.
content, you're doing video content, you should eventually work up to like Adobe Premiere Pro or Premiere Rush or something like that. You start talking about like all of those like super complex things. The apparel decorators probably are start using some of those products already, So, but like that's where I would start. I mean, we could really, like I said, we
I
could
know.
really go down
It's like,
a rabbit hole here.
how much time do we have?
Right.
But I just said like I love apps, so I'm
Yeah.
constantly trying new apps, seeing if one can help me be more beneficial or not beneficial, which one is more beneficial and can help me be
Right.
more efficient, especially in the world today where we're doing multiple tasks at once. It's not just a one focus. It might be one focus for 5 minutes, but then you're going to be switching and adjusting throughout the day.
Yeah,
Now,
I mean, talking about that, just really quick, I wanted to say, if you're
yeah,
like having a hard time like managing those tasks, and even this can be boiled down to something as simple as managing your content tasks, we just started using Asana. Awesome, love it, highly recommend. It's really great for task management, especially content. Like, of course, I'm in a group of a bunch of content directors and editors, so
yep,
we are constantly working on it. It can help you manage your tasks, like what's coming up for podcasts, who's your next guest, and when is it going to happen.
yep.
It can be as simple as like we need to record this video on this day. It's something as simple as like we need to post this article on this day, whatever. So even task management apps can
Are
really
huge.
help your content strategy.
And for those of you that are not aware of Asana, I believe it's ASANA. Is that correct?
Correct.
Or yeah.
Mhm. Yep.
So if you want to take a look at that, you should be able to find that in any app program or platform on your
Yeah.
phone, your device. And I believe you can even, because you can schedule that right on like your desktop. It just gives you app accessibility. Okay.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah, it's ASANA if you guys are looking for more of a task management workflow conversation type of platform.
Mhm.
Um, we're coming up on our time, and I we're gonna have to do this again because the conversation, I mean, was excellent, and I just feel like we could go on and on about
Sure.
so many multiple different channels about
Mhm.
content within itself. what is something that you would recommend to those that are listening or tuning in later, to really just be comfortable and getting started on just creating some type of content on some type of
Mhm.
platform?
Yeah, my biggest advice is I'm a rip the band-aid off kind of person. So if you know the why and you know what you want to fill, rip the band-aid off, do it, just commit. You're never going to get comfortable until you do something. It's like any skill or talent in life. You're not going to be a good basketball player unless you practice. Just like you're not going to be a good content creator unless you just start creating content. So that's my first piece of advice. My second piece of advice is don't just be out there to be out there. Have a purpose, have a plan, go into it, create good content. Don't just add to the white noise. Be a voice that stands out above the white noise. So find your why. Boils down to that. Find your why.
I love it. Yep. Find your why. That's going to be your key, right? That's going to unlock so much.
Yes.
Now tell us really fast where, not really fast, I'm going to share a couple of things, but tell us how our viewers and listeners can follow you, Cassie, whether it is getting in connection with you via email
Mhm.
or platforms, or just how can they find you?
Yeah. So I love to have direct contact. So email me cgreen. So that's C as in cat, green just like the color, at napco, napco.com. Love having conversations, love connecting to people. So that's the best way to reach me directly. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. So just search for Cassie Green for Apparelist. You'll find me. And then, of course, you can follow Apparelist on Instagram. It's just at Apparelist _. And that's, again, where we're most active, where you can find everything and connect with me.
Love it.
Yeah.
So, kind of following in our conversation, Eric Batewell, he is extremely active within our community, and we just love it having his knowledge. He said, you don't know what you don't know, right? So that's about community. That's about, like you said, just get started, rip the band-aid off.
Yes.
It might be uncomfortable to just do it once. And you know what? It's probably not going to be pretty. I'm going to be honest. But at the same time, it's only going to get better. And I feel like the beautiful thing about content is you can start here, you can start low, you can start want want.
Mhm.
And the more you do it, just naturally, you're going to get better at it. And I love things that, the more you do, the better you become.
Yep.
And then Carly, you guys know she posts the links. That way you guys can easily access things that we've talked about. And on both Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn, I was looking for it. She has posted the link to where you can find the Asana app and program that Cassie was talking about. And then she also made it easy for you guys to find the Apparelist on Instagram. That way you can stay in contact with them, or at least follow them, check them out. They do a lot within our apparel decorator community. So you know what? That's an easy place to start connecting and building there. And those people that are interacting, that right there is the open book, the open door to connecting with those that are also tuning in.
Mhm.
If you guys have not subscribed to this podcast, you guys know what to do. Go ahead and subscribe. That way you can stay up to date for all of our new conversations that will launch. And if you are not part of our Heat Press for Profit community on Facebook, go join it right now, because I guarantee you there will be a ton of people that will, one, either help you stay accountable, or will want to link up and really start connecting and bouncing off ideas. So Cassie, anything else?
No, that was great. Thank you so much for having me again. It was a lot of fun.
I love it. Okay, you guys, have a wonderful weekend and happy decorating. We'll see you next time.